Let's pick up your calls here. Howard in Coriopolis, Pennsylvania. Hey, Howard, what's on your mind today?
Well, talking about trade, I remember when I was a youngster in grade school that they taught us about Marco Polo and his ship going all over the world, but they didn't trade labor. Labor is a commodity also, and that's one thing that they didn't trade. They trade goods and things that they couldn't get from their country to another country.
Right. Well, in Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith makes that point that a country should keep, if there's something that they do domestically, they should keep it domestic. If there's something that they can't do domestically, that's when they should engage in international trade. As I recall, the example that he used was cheese, wool, and wine. And you've got three different countries, and presumably he was talking about England, Scotland, and France. One produces a lot of cheese, one produces a lot of wool with a lot of sheep, and one produces a lot of wine. Well, all three of those countries would have an incentive to trade with each other so that everybody in all three countries could wear a nice wool sweater while they eat cheese with their wine, right? But what happens when two of those countries both start producing cheese? At that point, those countries should consider putting up protective tariffs to protect their local cheese industry so that one country doesn't wipe out the other countries. And then, like the situation we've got with China, if one of those countries was to devalue their currency to make their cheese cheaper in the other country that also produces cheese, they would wipe out that country's cheese industry, which is exactly what's happened, right across the board here in the United States with so much of our industry. Back to you, Howard. Sorry.
No, that's you said it better than I could ever say it.
Okay, so I got to the essence of what you're talking about. And with regard to labor, you're absolutely right as well. I mean, if a country, every country should be self-sufficient. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And what the globalists would have is that every country is interdependent. There's nothing wrong with and the theory behind this is that interdependence will eliminate war. That if we're all interdependent upon each other, we're not going to cut off. The United States isn't going to go to war with China because, we would no longer have access to computers and solar cells and tires and all that junk that you buy at Walmart. The reality is that, and that's the theory, and that was the theory of the European Union. If everybody's interdependent with everybody else, if everybody, relies on everybody else, then we're not going to go to war. But the fact of the matter is that has never stopped war in the past. Interdependence has always been a part of, relations between countries, particularly in Europe, and it didn't stop World War I, it didn't stop World War II. And countries just went back to developing their own domestic industries. So, go ahead.
Yeah, and one thing that I think about is that guy that works in China who took our job over here. He doesn't pay taxes to the United States government.
Correct.
So we lose twice. We lost a worker in the United States, and then we lost a taxpayer.
Well, three times. The worker in the United States is now on welfare. So we're paying him rather than him paying us, we being the government.
Right, yeah.
So it's like a triple whammy. And then on top of that, when somebody buys the product that worker made, the profits for that all go to China. Much of the revenue for that goes to China to help build Chinese infrastructure, but the profits all go to China, so those profits don't get taxed in the United States either. I mean, it's like at every level we get screwed by these trade policies, and I am so hopeful that there was an article in the paper over the weekend about how the U.S. trade representative Michael Froman, I think is his name. Who, as I recall, was actually Obama's roommate at one point in college, says he's still very hopeful that during the lame duck session we'll pass the TPP. And I'm like, oh, God, please don't let this happen. So, Howard, good point. Thank you very much for the call.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.